We are in a new year. It is time to make some positive changes in our life. And I am not talking about these huge, massive changes. I think that's unrealistic, especially for busy moms. And so today I'm going to be talking about 10 different small tips for time management and productivity for 2022. So stay tuned and let's get into it. Hey, glue sticks, happy 2022. We are into our second week of the new year, and I hope your year is off to a good start. Just trying to, focus on what really matters in our life, not everything going on around us, because it can be easy to let all of that drag us down and feel fear, feel scared, feel like we're out of control. There are things we can control, and I am here today to kind of inspire, motivate you, give you a little pep talk, give you some advice on time management for 2022. Now, I just launched my subscription box, which is a box called the Work Life Glue Box for busy moms who want some help staying accountable and making progress and improvements in their life. And for January, we're talking all about time management and how to make the most and maximize our time. And we're doing a Take Back Your Time challenge in my Facebook group for that box. So I will talk about that a little bit more later if you do want some more accountability. But I thought, since I'm already talking about time all over the internet and with my box and everything, I've been so focused on that, I thought I would do a podcast episode to give you guys some extra tips, a few tips that I've been talking about in my group, as well as just some extra tips that I have used over the years and that I'm going to be focusing on in the new year that I think could help benefit you guys as well. So here are 10 time management tips for 2022. That is a tongue twister. Okay, so the very first thing that I think is the most important when you're looking at your time and time management, before you do anything else, before you get your planner out, before you analyze all of your time, is to really think about what are your priorities. I am having all the people in my group do this. That was something I went live last week and talked about. And I think it's really, really important, because if we don't know what our priorities are, how are we supposed to make sure our time is aligning to those priorities? Because essentially, if you want to do what matters most to you, you have to know what actually matters the most. And we may think we know, but when you actually write it out and reflect on it, I think it can be really eye-opening of what actually is a priority in your life and then what you actually make time for. Now, in my group, when I went live, I looked up the definition of a priority, and it talks a lot about the two words, which are urgency and importance. So things that are priorities may be things that are very urgent, so they move up on the priority scale, or they may be the things that are most important. And I think in life, we don't want to just be doing things that are urgent, because things that are urgent aren't always what's important to us. So we may prioritize those things and then push off the important things because they're not as urgent. So when I say urgent, the things that kind of come to my mind that you guys may have in your life that are urgent but not necessarily important might be things like doing homework with your kids. Obviously, homework can be important, but more than anything, it's very urgent. So maybe your view is like, they're in first grade. I don't think homework is super important because they're in school already for 7 hours a day, but it's urgent. I feel like we have to be doing that. Okay, there's no judgment here. I'm just giving examples. Other things that feel urgent are text messages, emails, those kind of things that come in and you feel like you need to prioritize them because they're right there, they're beeping at you, but are they really important? So when you're looking at your day and thinking about your priorities, I want you to write out the things that are important. So you're not making a list of the things that are priorities because they are urgent. You're writing out a list of things that are priorities because they are actually important to you. So let me give you an example of my list of things. First off is my faith. That's important to me. Next would be my husband, then my kids, and like my family as a whole. Next would be my business and my calling, because for me, those things go together. They may not for you. Maybe your job or your career is way down on your list. Maybe it's higher on your list. That's totally okay. There's no judgment here. It's just being really honest with yourself about what truly is a priority in your life. And then I would have things like friends, my health, mental and physical health, and things like that. So those are my priorities. So I want you guys to think about what are your priorities, because you can't improve your time management if you don't even know what you're trying to fit in, because you don't really know what's important. Because you may think your friendships are really important, but then when you look at your list, actually these 4 other things are really important. So instead of stressing out about time with friends, maybe focus on those other things, because we only have so much time in our day, and we only have so many hours, and we all are in different seasons. So in different seasons, we can fit different things in, and maybe you can fit more of your priorities in that are lower on the list when you have more time. And you just have to be honest with yourself. So number 2 would then be to analyze if your time is lining up with those priorities. So in my Facebook group, I have a printable that I created. We're actually going through and we're tracking our time and then assigning all of the things we do basically in a day with our priorities. So it's a very humbling experience, and it's also just a really good way to be honest with yourself. So maybe you're spending tons of time on your phone and that doesn't really align with any priorities because you're just scrolling Facebook or Instagram, and that's not like cultivating friendships or working on your business or spending time with family. And I'm not saying scrolling your phone is wrong or anything like that. I'm guilty of it too. But if we want to be more mindful with our time, we need to know where we're actually spending our time and if those are things that are aligning with our priorities. So I encourage you for a day, a week, if possible, to just kind of go through your day, write out, or at least think about, reflect on what you did that day, how much time you spent on each thing, and what priorities you're actually fitting into your day. So let me give you an example. I say that faith is number 1 on my list, but for the past year or so, I have not even opened my Bible until the last couple months, because I was like, Sarah, you're not doing what you say, and you're not aligning with those priorities. And so when I actually looked at that and realized, okay, granted, I am teaching the Bible to my kids throughout the day, homeschooling, I am praying throughout the day. I feel like I talk to God throughout my day. But for me personally, I want to do better, and I want to be reading the Bible every day. So by knowing that I'm not spending enough time by my standards, by my priorities on my number 1 priority, I was able to make some changes. So by knowing what you're actually spending your time on, and if those align with your priorities, you can start to get more mindful, smarter with your time, and cutting out some of the things that don't matter as much and trying to fit in those priorities. And I also want to say, give yourself grace, because if you're anything like me, listening to this, watching this, I know your plate is probably overflowing with things that you have to do just to stay alive, just to pay the bills, just to keep your kids alive. And there's not a lot of time for some of those priorities. Maybe your spouse is like the number 1 priority, but you literally, like, he's at work 10 hours a day and you're at work, and then you've got the kids. And by the end of the day, maybe you have 20 minutes to talk. And some days you're just too tired to do that. That is okay. There is no judgment. It's just being aware and being mindful, giving yourself grace that we know this isn't a permanent state, that will always be in this state, but how could we maybe be more conscious and more diligent and mindful about fitting in more connection time with our spouse, if that's one of your priorities? How can we do better about fitting those in? And if it's only 10 minutes a day, that's okay. At least you're focusing on it. Those 10 minutes add up. Those little moments add up over time. So me spending 10, 15 minutes in the Bible now at the start of nap time before I work, it's not 4 hours a day. That's okay. I don't have time. That's honest truth. Who has 4 hours in a day just sitting there? But I believe God sees that, God honors that, and it's more about the practice and the repetition than the actual time spent, if that makes sense. Okay, next up, something I've loved to do before I even knew the fancy name for it is to do habit stacking. So once you have some things that you know are priorities, you want to fit them in, and you're trying to figure out where to fit them in your day, the best, easiest way to do this, if you are able, is to attach that habit with an existing habit. So for me, talking about Bible study, something I do every day, usually after I lay my kids down for a nap, my 2 younger kids, and then I spend 10 minutes with my oldest daughter having connection time, because I have connection time with the little ones when I lay them down. I check I fill their buckets. I fill my own love bucket with them. And then I usually get on my phone and do some Instagram, and then I work. So In order to fit in the Bible, I had to ask myself, like, when in the day could I actually do this? Well, it's not going to work well when my kids are like needing me. So it'd have to be a time when at least my little ones are sleeping. So that leaves 4 a.m., nap time, or at the end of the day. And my mornings are super full. So, and my evenings, I just know I am not good about being productive at all consistently at night. So, knowing that, I was like, okay, I need to fit it in the middle of the day. How could I do that? Well, instead of coming downstairs to my office and getting on Instagram, why don't I attach this new habit to the habit of walking down the stairs and picking up my phone? Instead of doing that right before I pick up my phone, I will grab my Bible. Usually I have it sitting out. I try to set it out in the morning right on my computer so I see it and I'm reminded of it. And that is attaching this new habit to an existing habit. And once you can do that, it really just makes it autopilot. You don't really have to think about it because you already have these habits that you don't have to think about. So by attaching it to a habit you already have, it's going to make it so much more likely that you'll do it. You don't need a lot of willpower to start. It's not like it's during your time where you sit on the couch and do nothing. It's during a time when you're already doing something. So you can attach that new habit to an existing habit. It's called habit stacking. James Clear talks about it in his book, Atomic Habits. I've been doing it for years before I even knew that was like a fancy named thing. And it really, truly does work. Number 4 is don't just plan what you're going to do, plan when you're going to do this. So I have for years planned out my week on a weekly basis. So I have my planner, I've got my daily pages, but I take everything I need to do in a week and I split it up among the 7 days. And I've gotten really smart over the years and I have, I do certain tasks on certain days, which is a bonus tip. But if you're just kind of starting out and you have all these things you want to fit in, instead of just thinking, okay, today I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to go here, I need to check that off my list. Really sit down and figure out when you are actually going to do those things. It's easy to say, I need to do these 5 things today. That doesn't seem like such a big deal. But especially if you are a mom, especially if you're working, especially if you have a full plate and a full schedule, you need to figure out when you're going to actually do those things. So when I'm sitting down, if it's something I need to do when my kids are not around, then I make sure I do that during either my morning block, my nap time block, or at night. If it's something I can do with my kids around, like meal planning and that kind of thing, I try to schedule it for a time when they're probably going to be playing nicely and that kind of thing. So just really figure out when you're going to do your things. Also, just having a plan for that instead of just having these tasks looming over you, it relieves so much stress to not have to also figure out, okay, I have these 5 things to do. I don't know when I'm going to fit those in. If you already pre-plan when you're going to do them, you don't have to worry about it. It's like writing out a brain dump. Once it's down on paper, once you know, at least it's down, it takes a lot of the stress away of having to figure out when you're going to fit it in because you've already figured that out. Number 5, please be realistic about who you are and how your body works and what works for your life in whatever season you're in right now and just your personality. I cannot tell you how many times I get messages on Instagram and emails saying, Sarah, I want to wake up at 4 a.m. and I just can't get myself to do it. I work so much better at night. And I usually respond with, great, then do it at night. There's no rules that say you have to do it in the morning. I started waking up early because I realized I am quote unquote worthless at night. That's what I say. I'm like worthless to the world at night. I cannot get myself consistently to do much. And so I don't make myself do that. I am great at motivating myself early in the morning. It's just who I am. It's just in my nature. If I were horrible at waking up early and much better at working at night, then I would work at night. So I want you guys to be really realistic about what works for you and plan your day accordingly. If you are not a morning person, that's okay. There's no rule that you have to get up early if that doesn't work well for you. Number 6 is to utilize the timers. I love timers. I think they are genius. I use them on my phone. I even have a really cool timer cube, which came with my January subscription box. It's beeping at me. And I love timers for so many things. If you don't have a physical timer, of some sort, I would highly encourage you to get one. I have some of my timer cubes for sale if you guys are interested. They're cheaper than you can find them anywhere online because I'm trying to get rid of them. So I will link to that in the show notes. But basically, they are really cool wherever you get them, or if you just have some kind of physical timer. And I recommend the physical timer over your phone because the more we can stay off our phone, the better, because once we get onto our phone, usually we forget why we even picked it up. And then 20 minutes later, we went to set a timer and now we don't even know why we're on our phone and we're looking up Kim Kardashian or what have you on Instagram, and we've totally lost focus. So if you can do a physical timer, I would highly recommend that. I love the timer cubes because they're really easy to use with kids and they look really cute, and you just set it down on whatever number you want facing up. So if you want to set a 30-minute timer, you just face that up and then it will automatically set the timer and then it beeps when it's done. I love these for so many things. It doesn't just have to be for work tasks. There's so many ways you can use them around the house. For example, cleaning. You know, if you're gonna, you really want to get some cleaning done, set a timer for 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, and work until the timer goes off. It's super simple. You just flip it and you go. You don't have to get on your phone. You don't have to say anything to your Echo. Flip it and go. Cooking. Maybe you want to meal prep and you're really not motivated. So you tell yourself, I'm just going to do it for 15 minutes. I'm just going to start, because chances are once you start, you will keep going because it's more work to stop than it is to just keep going. And you already have those like good feelings going, knowing you're doing something good. So you could use it for that. Maybe you're going to talk to a friend on the phone and you only have so much time. You're going to set a timer and say, okay, Janet, I'm only going to be able to talk to you for 30 minutes. I'm setting a timer. I really value our friendship, but I only have these 30 minutes and then I got to go do XYZ. You can set a timer for that. Maybe some nights it's hard to have quality time with your family. I'm not going to lie. Winters with little kids stuck inside. It's super dark out. It's super cold. You're stuck inside. They're bouncing off the ceiling. They're having their behavior issues and you're at the end of your rope. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. So maybe you set a timer like, I'm going to focus on my kids for 30 minutes and then they're going to go play and do something on their own. That's a great way to force yourself to spend quality time. I know that sounds awful, but if you're a parent and you've never been there, then I bow down to you. Sometimes it's not always easy. And then it's also giving your kids like a signal. We're only going to spend these 30 minutes. So let's say focused, and then they're going to play on their own. Working, it's great. I use this just this morning. I'm having a work day where my kids are at my mom's, and I said, okay, I have all these things on my list. I don't even know where to start. I'm going to set my timer for 60 minutes. And I kid you not, I got done almost everything on my list that I thought was going to take me hours in 30 minutes because I was focused. And then I had 30 minutes to then I could go on my phone because I finished what I needed to do. So that's really fun. Exercising, you can use it for. Work tasks, anything you can use these for, and it's great. And I just think if we can use some kind of physical item to help us be more productive that doesn't cost a lot of money, is really easy to use with kids, I think it's well worth it to use throughout your day. Another thing I love encouraging people to do and helping them do also is to find ways to carve out more time in your day. Now, I know I talk about carving out time and things like that. I definitely don't want you guys to leave this episode and think every single minute of your day has to be scheduled. I've had people comment that I have every minute of my day scheduled because I talk about this so much, but I honestly do not have every minute of my day scheduled. I actually have a lot of flexibility in my day, but I can do that because I have structure and I have certain things planned for certain times that I have to absolutely fit in. Homeschooling, work, exercise, Bible time, like those main priorities are scheduled, but then we have hours and hours in our day that are unplanned that we can kind of just do whatever we want. And so I think the best thing to do if you are having trouble fitting certain things into your day, what can we do to carve out some extra time in the things we're already doing? So we're not cutting into our free time. We're not cutting into like our flex time or our family time, but we're being smarter with our time and kind of opening up time. So let me give you a couple examples of what I mean by that. Something I do and recently did, because I've been trying to fit in working out for so long, and I always felt like I'm going to have to cut into family time. I'm going to have to sacrifice a ton of stuff to fit it in. And then I finally realized, what if I just move my kids' wake up time back 30 minutes. How many of you guys are actually spending super great quality time with your kids in the morning? Not me. Usually it's kind of hustle, get breakfast. They're doing their own thing, getting them all dressed, brushing teeth. Like it's not this it's bonding in a sense, but it's not like super high quality time. That's later in the day. So I move their wake up time. I say that in quotes because they're awake far before this, but I have early wake up kids and that's okay, but they can definitely play in their rooms. They have their Yodo players. They have activities and toys in their rooms if they wake up early. And sometimes it's just nice to slowly wake up. And I want to teach them the art of that and how beautiful it is to slowly wake up. They haven't quite mastered it yet, but they were getting up at 6. And I moved that from 6 to 6:30. So I did not have to cut into my working time. I didn't have to cut into my getting ready time. So instead of getting ready from 5:30 to 6, as I already was before, I now work from 4 to 5:30. And instead of going into the bathroom and getting ready at 5:30, I now go to our bedroom and I work out for like 25 minutes. And then I get ready from about 6 to 6:30, and then I'm ready for my kids. So I opened up that half an hour just by moving back when my kids are up and can come out of their rooms. And honestly, one of my daughters has been sleeping later in the day. Like she doesn't even want to get up then, which is amazing. And my other daughter is just playing in her room. She's drawing pictures. She's looking at books, and it hasn't been an issue. It was something I wanted to do years ago, and I just fought myself on it. And now that I've created that time, I've been consistent about working out. So I love that. Also, I'm really particular about how I use screen time in my family. I'm not anti-screen time, but I definitely try to limit it and I want to use it as a tool. So what I do, my girls have nap/rest time from about 12:30, 12:45 until 2. And my little one, who's 1, usually keeps sleeping till 2:45. But my 4-year-old, if she even naps that day, she's usually up by 2. And then my 6-year-old will just play and she has her own activities she does during this time. She does a little homeschool stuff on her own. But from 2 to 3, I want to keep working. So I let my 2 bigger girls have screen time during this time. Sometimes they watch things on their Kindle. Sometimes they watch a TV show that they know I approve of. Sometimes they do their Osmo games, which is great. And sometimes they just choose to play, and that's okay too. But I try to be really smart about when I use screen time to work for me. It also gives them extended kind of rest. My 4-year-old can kind of wake up because she wakes up really hard. And it kind of is a good transition from rest time. And then once the screen time is over, it's back to family time, snack, playing, that kind of thing. So I really am mindful of how I use screens to work and benefit everybody. Obviously, utilizing times when your kids are asleep if you can. I don't think it's good to do everything when your kids are asleep. I think it's good for them to see laundry being done, cooking happening, all those things that go into homemaking. I think it's good for our kids to see, but sometimes it's just easier when they're asleep, and there are certain things that are just way easier when they're asleep. And I think it's totally great to use that. And then if you think of if your kids are in sports, or if you are picking them up or taking them to school and you're in the carpool line, what could you do during that time to kind of open up some time? So maybe they're at a practice and you're sitting in your car, or you're sitting watching, but it's kind of boring and you don't really watch anyway. You're just on your phone. Instead of doing that, maybe you could be fitting in something that's a priority. Maybe you could start reading during that time. Maybe you could call a friend and catch up, or a family member who you've lost touch with or want to have more time to talk to. Maybe you could do that during that time. Maybe you could answer emails or get some work tasks done. Maybe you could plan out your week during that time. Maybe you could just sit and do nothing, or meditate, or listen to a podcast, or listen to an audiobook. What are some things you could do during kind of those downtimes where you are forced to just kind of sit there instead of just wasting that time on your phone, which is okay. But if you're looking for some time to fit things in, think about those times in your day. Maybe you have 1 or 2 that you could be fitting in some extra things without taking up other time in your day. I've talked a little bit about phone use and why screens and things, especially our phones, kind of get in the way of our productivity. Something I really recommend you guys do is have some kind of physical prevention barrier from you using your phone at certain times of the day. I found these Be Present screen blockers, which I included in my January box. I don't have any more of them, but I will link to them below if you guys are interested. These are great, or you could use something like a Post-it note or, a sticker, whatever would work. These are just fun because they're specifically for this purpose. But I think it's really helpful to have an actual physical thing on your phone to remind yourself to stay off of it. Now, some people put it in another room, but I know for me, I have timers going off all the time to remind me of things. So if it's in the other room, then I got to stop what I'm doing, open all the baby gates, and not, my 1-year-old, worry about her falling down the stairs. Like, it's just, there's a lot of reasons why, for me at least, keeping it in another room is really frustrating. So instead, I like having some kind of physical thing to put on my phone to remind me, okay, Sarah, you're spending time with your family, or Sarah, you're working. So these are great because you literally just peel them off and you can stick them on your phone, and they say things like, I am with you, I am considerate, I am attentive, I am listening. So if you're having family time and you're trying to stay off your phone, you can put one of those on. If you're trying to get a bunch of work done, you can put that on, and it's a physical reminder, because a lot of us, it's just like a reflex to grab our phone, and we often don't even realize we're doing it. So having some kind of physical reminder, be a Post-it note, like I said, to help us stay off our phone, I think is a great time management tip in this day and age in 2022. Also, I can't get through one of these episodes without reminding you to have grace for the season you're in. Now, grace is not the same thing as an excuse. So if you're listening to this and, wanting me to say, like, just put off your dreams until it's easy, like, I'm not going to say that. I think, we all can make any kind of excuse we want for why we're not doing the things we really want to be doing. And I'm not going to be the person to allow you. I don't know the right word for that, but I'm all about helping you guys and motivating and encouraging you to live your best life. And a lot of times it's not easy. And a lot of times you have to hear the hard truth. But that is not to say that you have to follow everything I say and you have to just disregard everything going on in your life right now and do all of these things to make your life better, because sometimes there really are valid reasons why we're not getting up early, even though we're a morning person and have big dreams. For example, I get so many emails and DMs saying, Sarah, I just had a baby. Were you getting up at 4 a.m. right when you had your baby? As a way of like asking me if they should be getting up at 4 a.m. if they just had a baby. And I will never, ever tell somebody at all that they need to work out or get up at 4 a.m. regardless. I think it's a personal choice. But for me, first of all, when I started getting up at 4 a.m., my second daughter was about 4 months old. So she was not a newborn anymore. Sleep was going really well at that point. I was probably waking up like once in the night to nurse her, but it was really quick and easy. Not a big deal. I wasn't losing a bunch of sleep. And then with my third baby, yes, I did start getting up again at 4 a.m. right after she was born. I had a super duper hard pregnancy with her. I did not feel like myself. And after she was born, I just had this surge of energy. She was a great sleeper. And so, yes, I started getting up early again, but that's just my personal preference. And I would never encourage somebody, especially if they've never gotten up at 4 a.m. to begin with, to start doing that in a really hard season of your life. I battled horrific postpartum depression with my first daughter. The last thing I would ever tell somebody to do is to go against what your body is telling you, to fight against your natural inclinations. If your body is telling you you need to sleep more, I want you guys to listen to that. I fall asleep on the couch at like 8 p.m. So I'm getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep most nights. So if you're up for hours with a baby, definitely listen to that. Give yourself grace. There will be a season where it is a lot easier to wake up early, or maybe there won't be, and you'll be a night owl, or you'll have different times of day when you'll work. That's okay. I want you guys to give yourself grace. Don't make excuses. I think that's a lot different, but listen to your body, listen to the season of life you're in, and schedule your life accordingly. My life when I had my first baby is so different than it is now with 3 babies. I think once you've had a few kids, you just get really smart about what you can handle, where you'll fit things in, and you get more savvy with that. And you also just get used to sleeping less a little bit. I'm not saying get like 4 hours of sleep, but I think just the changes, you kind of adapt more to that. So if you're in a hard season, especially in motherhood, do what you got to do. Listen to that. There will be a time when you can. Don't use it as an excuse, but really be realistic. Is this something that I need to wait on? And make that choice and feel confident in it. If you're looking for excuses, chances are you'll find them, but you have to ask yourself, is that an excuse or is that me being realistic? And then own up to it either way. And then lastly, if you're anything like me, I think it's really good to actually schedule downtime. I will, if left to my own devices, I will just schedule this, that, and the other thing. I schedule things for the PM, like after my kids go to bed all the time. And then I never can do them because I'm so tired and exhausted and I don't have any more motivation. And then I feel let down, which is dumb because I'm the one who told myself to do it in the first place. If I hadn't told myself to do something, I wouldn't have been let down. So I think it's really important to have those scheduled downtimes in your day. I have so many people ask me, when do you have downtime? I have lots of downtime. I just don't show you guys it because it's really boring. I'm sitting on the couch. It's not that exciting. So my downtime for me personally is after my kids go to bed. I rarely do anything worth planning or anything after they go to bed. So I get about an hour and a half, 2 hours on a good day after they go to bed. And then also I try not to schedule a whole lot on weekends during nap time or rest time. So from like 1 to 3 on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, I try not to schedule a lot. And so I'm very conscientious of that. I know I like having those open windows where I can kind of just do whatever I want, whether I need to take a nap, whether I want to call a friend, if I want to just get something done around the house, or if I just want to sit down and read or scroll on my phone, that's okay too. So I think it's really important when you're planning your day to also fit in those periods of downtime. I hope this episode was helpful for you guys, was motivational. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube or please on the podcast app. I would so appreciate if you guys would leave a rating and review. Just scroll down to the bottom of your iTunes podcast app and you can leave a rating and review there. It helps people find the podcast and know it's worth listening to. So if this was helpful for you, that would be a huge thank you to me and just a great way for me to continue spreading great content to other moms and women out there. As always, thank you guys so much for listening and watching, and I will see you next time.